Welcome to another episode of Microsoft Mentors, the podcast. Microsoft Mentors is designed to lift the lid on the journeys of the most successful leaders in the Microsoft partner ecosystem. Every week, through candid conversations with founders, business owners, and technology thought leaders, we explore their strategies, grit, and lessons behind their growth and how they're building competitive advantage for the future. These are the untold stories and practical lessons from leaders who are defining success in Azure, AI, data, app innovation, and security. Our mission is simple: to tell partner stories at scale and create impactful Microsoft conversations. Hello and welcome to a special episode of Microsoft Mentors, the podcast. We've got JD dialing in direct from the MVP Summit over in Seattle. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. The jet lag is just starting to wear off just as we're halfway through the trip. So yeah, I'm in a good space right now.
JD, for people that don't know you, it'd be good just to get a bit of an understanding on your background. So, you know, the tech space within Microsoft, the Microsoft world that you work within, where you work, what your role is there, if that's all right, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Ollie kindly introduced, my name is Jonathan D'Aloia, but most people in the community refer to me as JD for short. I'm a principal DevOps engineer at Telefonica Tech. I lead a team of platform engineers within the data and AI space within Telefonica Tech. So used to work for an organization called Adatis, but in the beginning of 2022, the acquisition of Adatis was done by Telefonica Tech. And so we're now part of that wider group. And the team that I lead, we focus specifically around the data platform BI stack within Azure. So that's services such as Databricks, Fabric, Synapse, all those data platform specific services, as well as a lot of the key services that you'd use in any sort of standard Azure architecture. And our realm isn't just within data platforms. We scope out to the wider aspects of Azure, such as landing zones and some of those more niche, specific application style architectures as well.
Yeah, cool. And it's been interesting actually this year. I've spoken quite a lot about it, that there seems to be a real big drive both within the partner space and also organizations that are going through a lot of transformation on the data platform side. It seems that, I guess, it's probably a perfect storm maybe between the sort of the introduction of Fabric and people wanting to consume that, and also businesses wanting to try and get themselves a little bit closer to their data platforms being AI ready. Is that what you're seeing on your end?
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing very much organizations wanting to adopt AI, but our stance is, let's walk before we run. Let's make sure that we've got all your data into a good shape and ready for AI, because for AI to be successful, you need it to be based on good data, and that's where we come in. We build out robust data platforms for organizations in order to ensure that they are AI ready and can effectively be ready to solve some of their current business challenges.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, good to get a bit of a background on you and what you do. And obviously you're over in Seattle right now for the MVP Summit. I guess before we dive into what the summit is and all the sort of hopefully value and benefit that has to the community, let's just start with the MVP program. I guess some people will be super aware of what it is. Some people will have seen it, but actually have no idea of the context. So just give people a bit of an oversight in terms of just generally what the MVP program is for Microsoft.
Yeah, absolutely. So the MVP program effectively consists of a collection of individuals who have been recognized and awarded by Microsoft with that title of MVP. So they're valued by Microsoft for their contributions to the community and their promotion of Microsoft technologies to the wider community. That might be in the form of blog posts, blogging about specific Microsoft tech. That would be speaking at various events, again, promoting Microsoft technologies, or even running their own user groups and effectively running those events. So effectively, the MVP program is a way of recognizing those individuals who go the extra mile effectively to promote Microsoft technologies within the community.
Yeah, and with your own journey then in the MVP land, I guess Was there a decision point where you made a conscious decision to say, I'm going for MVP and I need to achieve X, Y, and Z to get there? Is it something that happened organically for you? How did that look?
So I kind of felt like I needed to break my comfort zone and get into the public speaking world. There were some specific niche topics and some, challenges and problems that I were coming across in my day-to-day world, and I kind of thought that other people must be getting through these same problems. So I wanted to get that out there in the community, as well as break my comfort zone in public speaking. So I went on that journey of speaking at various user groups around the country, etc. And then it got to one particular user group, which was the Sussex Azure User Group, which is run by Jack Tracy and Ryan at Microsoft. And at the end of the session, Jack Tracy said to me, have you thought about going for MVP? Prior to that, the seed hadn't really been planted. MVP wasn't on my horizon. I don't want to say I didn't think I was good enough, but it was almost a bit of an imposter syndrome. But yeah, once Jack had planted that seed, I then took upon myself to build out a plan and a path to achieve that MVP status, and that ultimately for me was the tipping point.
Yeah, and I guess once you've been through the process and you get the email in your inbox to say, yeah, you've been awarded. I guess celebrations at that point. Once you've got into the program and you are an MVP, what does that then look like in terms of what you need to do to maintain that? Are there sort of specific metrics that you have to hit in terms of, attending so many user groups, doing so many public speaking slots? What does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So once you get that email that you've been accepted into the program, you then have to, should I say, once you've got that email to say you've been invited to the program, you then have to accept that invitation, which obviously I think most people do, considering they've applied to be an MVP. And then you go through an onboarding process where the terms and agreements of being an MVP are made clear to you, about the NDA agreements and so forth. And then there's a renewal process every year. So you have to renew your MVP status every year. And as part of that renewal process, you need to provide evidence of what you've done in the last 12 months in order to justify why you should be renewed again into the MVP program. So so it's not a one-time thing. So it's once you've become an MVP, you're an MVP for life. You do have to put the effort in to maintain those contributions to the community in order to ensure that you are enrolled on a year-by-year basis.
Yeah. And then, so if there was someone that was, maybe listening to this conversation now and they've maybe thought about the idea of becoming an MVP, but maybe haven't taken action on it yet, or maybe they're listening to this and going, do you know what, actually, I could do that. Would you have any sort of input, steps, ideas in terms of how they should start that process if they do want to start the journey to becoming an MVP? What would your top tips be?
Yeah, so my kind of top tips are: find your niche, find where your particular area of expertise lies, and just be vocal in the community about that. Whether that's starting with LinkedIn posts, maybe creating your own blog site, attending local user groups, get your face known out there, get your name out there in the community, kind of create your own brand around yourself, so that people, when they think of a particular subject within Azure on a particular technology stack, they attribute your name to that particular area. Becoming an MVP is not beyond the capabilities of anybody. So don't think that you need to be some sort of some particular network or need to be integrated with a certain group of people in order to be able to do that. Absolutely not. So becoming an MVP is for everyone. So don't be afraid to embark on that journey.
Yeah. And I'm right in thinking within the MVP program, for example, you've got, from the outside, people talk about I'm an Azure MVP, but actually within the Azure MVP program, there's then specialisms, isn't there? So what's your specialism within that Azure MVP program?
Yeah, so my specialism is specifically around infrastructure as code. Talking about technologies such as Bicep, Terraform. That's my area of specialism. And when you apply for the MVP program, you decide which subcategories you want to go for in the program, and you can select a few. And ultimately, when you go through that approval process, the governing body, however that process works, decide which categories are appropriate for you. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I guess with the MVP program for infrastructure as code, does it come with a little asterisk saying Bicep is the best, better than Terraform?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I think it's fair to say, although Bicep is the infrastructure as code language specifically for Azure, Microsoft realised that there's a market for Terraform, and they're
Exactly. Yeah.
adapting and they're moving along with that. So yeah, absolutely not. So yeah, cheeky little comment.
And then with in terms of getting enrolled or nominated for the MVP program, is it that you have to have a sort of a current standing MVP nominate you for the program? Is that how it still works?
Yeah, so either an existing MVP or an employee from Microsoft. So
Right.
Jack Tracy from Microsoft is who nominated me. So either or can effectively nominate you for that process.
Yeah, and that's where I guess anyone that wants to go on that journey, that's where the user groups come into their own, right? Because user groups have always got on any given night people from Microsoft there, MVPs there. If you can get yourself to user groups and start talking to people, that's your network that's going to really start the journey, and they'll be able to, I guess, give you support and advice in terms of what steps you need to take and what you need to be doing to achieve it effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always encourage new people that sort of come to my user group if they want to use our user group as a safe platform to springboard their journey into public speaking. I always welcome that and effectively encourage people to do so, because I think taking that first initial step into public speaking is always a bit daunting. So if you can do that in a safe space, then that just makes things a little bit easier.
Yeah, yeah. And then obviously that leads us to where you are right now, which is in Seattle for MVP Summit. So that's an annual event run by Microsoft for all the MVPs. So they get all the MVPs from across the globe and bring them into one central location. Obviously, it's not cheap for Microsoft to do that. It's not cheap for people to get out there. So I guess what's the big benefit of getting all these MVPs from across the world and bringing them into one central location?
Yeah, so for the power of networking just goes beyond really what words can describe, and having the ability of having all of those MVPs and all of that knowledge congregated in one place at one time is truly powerful. Um, for me, being able to network with MVPs and just having discussions about saying, look, how have you overcome this problem, or how would you approach this kind of situation? It really goes beyond what money can buy in certain respects. In addition to that, having access to the specific product teams within Microsoft, and being able to provide feedback really on what's worked well, what hasn't worked well, and having that influence on the not the direction as such, but on way things on how things can be improved, just really provides a lot of value, because obviously Microsoft had their vision on how things could be done, but obviously we're the boots on the ground and we're listening to what customers are having to say and the challenges that are happening on the ground, and being able to present and feed that back is really great.
Yeah, I think that's one thing Microsoft have always been really good at, right? It's building products, building services, building tooling that people then can take out into industry, and then once it's out in industry, being really open to that feedback loop to say these are the bits that are working really well, but actually in real scenarios in financial services, for example, it doesn't work here in this world, or this particular module of a service doesn't work. It would work better if it worked like this. And that's why it's so good for them to have the product teams that are so engaged with the community so that they can get live real world industry feedback on their solution and then iterate and improve against it. I guess in terms of the MVP Summit, just in terms of like feel, give us a picture in terms of what it looks like. Is it a massive conference center? What's the buzz around the place?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's all located on Microsoft's campus in Redmond, which if you ever get the opportunity to go, you need to get out there and check it out, because it is truly awesome. And yeah, on the campus, there's specific buildings where the sessions are being held. So you effectively got conference centers, you've got large meeting rooms, which are all geared up for presentations. And you create your schedule. So prior to us being flying out here, we would have got access to the agenda for the MVP summit, and we can effectively pick which sessions we want to go to, and it creates a plan for you. And so, yeah, like pretty much like any other conference, you create your agenda, and then you attend your sessions on the talks that are happening. Obviously, you've got lunch as well, so Microsoft are providing lunch, and obviously a lot of the MVPs congregate at those kind of times as well to just engage in discussion on how their day's been and some of the interesting topics that they've been listening to.
Yeah, and do you find is there lots of sort of cross collaboration between the different MVP groups, or do you find that sort of the Azure MVPs tend to sit and talk about the Azure stuff, the security MVPs stay in their camp, or is there lots of sort of cross discussions across the different disciplines?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I've largely been sat in my Azure camp, but I'm going to be honest with you. I have obviously, do want to try and cross collaborate with some of the MVPs, but obviously your time is limited here, and you want to come to the sessions that are really relevant, for you, and you want to get the most out of it in terms of that. So I'm sure there are a lot of MVPs out there who are cross collaborating, across the different technology stacks. But yeah, definitely for me, I want to try and absorb as much knowledge in my particular area as possible.
Yeah. And obviously, we spoke about the fact that MVPs are under NDA, so there's only so much you can talk about. But in terms of the general feel and direction that Microsoft are talking about, are they sort of still in the same sort of track that you were thinking that it's going to go down? Are there any big sort of curveballs that are going to be coming downstream?
I think it's fair to say, direction for MVPs isn't any different to the wider community. I think is fair to say. So things could be just exactly how you'd expect it to be.
Yeah, and I guess for Microsoft, a lot of it is about validating that their direction of travel on certain products and services is in the right track, and that the MVPs can feed back on that and say, yeah, we can see that that's going in the right direction, and that is where we would want it to go. Or trying to, I guess, is there an element of being able to steer the conversation with the product team? So if the product teams are going one direction, and the general consensus across the MVPs is that there needs to be more work on different areas. Is that
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So there's definitely, when sort of certain topics are presented and whatnot, MVPs will be quite honest, are quite vocal and quite blunt in some instances, and will say, we don't think that's very good, or actually that's very good, and can definitely help steer the direction in that aspect. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, cool. And what's Seattle like as a place? I've never been in terms of the city. What's it like? Have you been able to get out and about outside of the campus?
So Seattle was pretty cool, actually. So on Sunday, which was the day after we arrived, we did a bit of exploring into sort of downtown Seattle. We went up the Space Needle, which was pretty awesome. Unfortunately, the weather wasn't too great, so we didn't get the best views out there. But in terms of the city, it is really, it's really beautiful. And like I said, if you ever get the chance to get out here, you really should. You've got great mountainous regions that surround Seattle itself. So be driving through the city, and just on the distant horizon, you can see some of the snow-topped mountains that are out there. So yeah, it's been really great. Some great restaurants, some great food as well to be getting tucked into as well. So yeah,
that's the most important part when you're traveling, isn't it? Is to get stuck into the local restaurants and food. Cool. And then I guess for you then, out the back of the MVP summit, how do you sort of anticipate the knowledge, insights that you're gaining through being at the summit? How do you think that'll impact when you get back into the UK, in terms of, will there be stuff that you'll be able to start actioning in your current role at Telefonica? Will be stuff that you'll be able to start talking to user groups about? What do you think that will look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, so I wouldn't be able to present on anything or share anything specifically on any of the specific topics, but obviously in my mind, I'll know the direction that we'll need to go, and effectively start to pave the way to enable us to head in that direction, so that when things do become publicly available, we're already geared up and ready to move in that direction, rather than being behind the curve and reacting to news as and when it's released, from my perspective anyway.
Yeah, gives you an opportunity to, like you say, just start working on the background, and at least having being able to anticipate, knowing sort of the direction that it's going to go, and then be able to plan accordingly for that. Cool. And I guess sort of swinging back through to the community piece. So, is it Surrey or Sussex is your user group that you?
So Surrey is the Azure User Group that I run. That's the one that I head up. So yeah.
Sussex was the one that you started out with Jack and Ryan and that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool. So with the Surrey one, it'd be good to get a bit of feel of, I guess, when did the Surrey one user group start? What did that journey look like in terms of getting that kicked off?
So the Surrey Azure User Group started in February 2024, and that was one of the initiatives that I wanted to start in order to help promote or help build up my MVP justification. So yeah, I realised I wanted to start my own user group in Surrey. There wasn't one currently. We got a lot of technology companies based in Woking as well. So with the likes of Capgemini, we've got some other big organisations such as McLaren. As well, and I wanted to reach out to those organisations in the community and start to build out a community and a network within Surrey. Hardest part of starting a user group was finding a good venue for a good price. But once that was established, then everything was sort of started to take place. Trying to build out a pipeline of speakers for the year as well was also challenging. You're going to get let down. People last minute. That happened to us where we had speakers lined up to speak, and on the day before they'd let you down. So yeah, that's the journey is tough. It's not easy. I naively thought that it would be able to just simply kind of run itself, but that evidently was not the case. So it does take time, it does take effort, but it's not just me that runs it. So I co-run the user group with a guy called Jamie Pullinger, also known as JP, who I work with. So yeah, having two people and there's many hands on board to support that makes the work a lot easier.
Yeah, and how frequently do you meet? How many people do you tend to get at meetups? What's that look like?
Yeah, so we started last year around every month. But this year I've got some personal issues which are making life busy. I'm getting married this year, so things are just taking precedence. So we're now meeting every other month. On average, we're getting between 20 and 30 members, and I'm hoping that's gonna just gonna grow, really. So yeah, that's where we're at now.
Yeah, it's one of those with user groups. I've had lots of conversations with people that have set them up in different guises, and it's definitely a time and resource drain, isn't it? On top of the day job, to commit to it, and especially when you're committing to getting people to give up their own time in their evenings and come down to a location. We're so used to being remote, in a lot of roles in tech now, aren't we? Once you've got that commitment of people to come, you've got to have a good speaker. You've got to have a venue that's workable. You've got to have food and drinks and stuff. So it is lots of logistics to get it up and running.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
With because I speak to, obviously in my role, what I do here at Cloud Decisions, I speak to a lot of people in the Azure space, and it always surprises me how many people either don't know that user groups exist or have never sort of gone and attended. So again, a bit like the MVP question that I said earlier, if someone's listening to this and going, God, those user groups would be really useful. Even if it's someone that's not looking to go into the MVP program, but just wants to learn more about Azure, I guess what do you think that the benefit is from people being sort of involved in those user groups? What sort of benefit can you give to people if they turn up to Surrey on a Tuesday night in Woking?
If anything, just meeting new people in the industry. A lot of organizations, people who work for specific organizations are kind of stuck in their lanes of what they know. But when you come into events like user groups and you get to network with people from Microsoft, it just widens your horizon massively, and exposes you to things that you probably just wouldn't be exposed to if you didn't attend to these user groups. You're likely going to be introduced to topics that probably a little bit left field from what you know. There's no doubt about that. Not absolutely everything is going to be relevant, but a lot of things will be. And it's just building out your portfolio, expanding your network, and getting to know people in the industry is truly powerful. And I can't emphasize that nearly enough.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think there's something to be said as well. Like, a lot of time in tech is spent in remote roles, and there's something to be said from going and just sitting in a room with people that do the same stuff as you day in day out, and also that sort of cross sector, cross segment collaboration. If you're working for a finance company, for example, there'll be people at user groups that are working at partners that are working in different industries that might have the same challenge but slightly different, and maybe they've approached it in a slightly different way. And actually, by just
Yeah,
going and talking to them, you might have had a blocker that you didn't know how to get past, and by going to a user group straight away, you can go, oh well, just spoken to Dave and he did it this way. You can go back to work on Tuesday and go, actually, we've had a good idea. We can get around this blocker by doing this, by having a real use case of how it's worked. So,
yeah, absolutely. And if anything, most user groups, if not all of them, are free and provide free food. So,
yeah.
there's no real cost to going at all.
And that's the big question. What is the go-to food on offer at Surrey? Does it vary or is it always the same?
It's pizzas, because the venue that we use, the Lightbox, they do all the in-house catering there, and they've got a wood
Oh,
oven
nice.
pizza.
Okay.
Wood-fired pizza oven, I should say. So
So
they're able to make
proper
them on site.
pizzas.
Proper pizzas, yeah, proper pizzas. So they're able to make them on site and bring them up to the events room, which works really well. Everything's contained in one house, and it just makes the whole logistics process a lot easier.
Yeah, cool. No, as I say, it was just interesting. I think the idea when we were chatting earlier this week, wasn't it? It was that everyone has this kind of peripheral vision of MVPs. It's just really good to understand, what's the purpose? Why did Microsoft build the MVP program? If you're interested in getting into it, what does that look like? What's your journey look like to it? And obviously understanding a bit more about what the summit looks like this week over in Seattle. So yeah, really appreciate you shedding a bit more light on that. Shall we have a bit of fun? Should we do the Microsoft Mentors quickfire round, JD?
Go on then.
So I've changed this a little bit. I think I've done it before where there was sort of a bit more elongated questions, but actually I think the feel that works best is just, it's an either or. So you're going to get yes or no, basically. Which one do you think is the best solution? Some of them are tech, some of them are fun. Ready?
Go on then.
Well, this is a good one for you because we've already alluded to it, Mr. Infrastructure as Code MVP. Terraform or Bicep?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'll go Bicep. Bicep.
Yeah, good job seeing as you're next door to the Microsoft campus. Hybrid cloud or all-in cloud?
Hybrid cloud, I think, is the reality for most organizations. So yeah, we'll go hybrid cloud.
Yeah, conceptually all-in cloud seems like a good idea. In reality, how doable is it for most organizations? Not that common, is it?
No.
Azure DevOps or GitHub Actions?
Azure DevOps, that's an easy one for me.
Yeah, nice. Outside of the Microsoft space, are you a iPhone or Android?
I'm in fact an iPhone user, so yes, I am iPhone.
Yeah. Well, let's keep on that track when it comes
I'm
to.
on Mac. I'm all on Mac as well.
I was
So
about to
yeah,
say,
definitely.
yeah, you've been pulled into the Apple walled garden, have you?
Absolutely. Just making sort of my community videos is just ties in really well. I record everything on my iPhone. It syncs brilliantly to the Mac. Does all the camera tracking and everything. So yeah, what more do you want?
Yeah. Do you know, I'm Windows laptop, and I've tried to get third-party integrations because the iPhone cameras are so good, and like say in the Mac they work so well, don't they? And I've tried the third-party integrations for iPhone to Windows, and they're just not there. So I don't know if I might end up on a Mac at some point, but we'll see. Cool. Windows or Linux?
I'm a a Windows, a Windows person. So for my day to day, I use Windows personally. But
Yeah.
for certain DevOps activities, Linux, obviously, it's lightweight. approach just really helps speed things up. So yeah, it kind of depends on the activities that I'm doing. But for a lot of my CI/CD pipelines and things like that, I like running them off Linux because it's just quick compared to the Windows instances.
Yeah, cool. And then a bit of fun: KFC or McDonald's?
KFC, I love
Yeah.
bit of fried chicken.
No,
Yeah.
I do like a KFC, but I'm a Big Mac man at heart, really.
Oh, really?
Xbox, PlayStation, or we'll add an extra on PC gaming.
I've got an Xbox. So yeah, I'm all in on Xbox. So yeah, primarily for the flight simulator. That's the main reason for it. So yeah.
Yeah. I was a PlayStation guy for years, and I moved to Xbox a couple of years ago. The main reason I never went to Xbox before was because of the controller. Like, I was just so ingrained in that, early 2000s, late 90s kid with a PlayStation remote. I had to stick with it, but yeah, I've moved to Xbox recently. And final one: summer holiday or winter holiday, like a ski holiday or a snow holiday or something like that.
Summer holiday. I need the heat. Summer holiday. Yeah, I've got Mediterranean origin, so yeah, definitely need that summer holiday.
Yeah. And where's your go to if you were going to go?
Oh, well, that's a good question. So obviously, family come from Italy originally, so Sicily is definitely on our top list on where we go quite often. But yeah, I'm off to honeymoon in Bali this year, so that should be
Nice.
that might be the new go to. But yeah, we shall see.
Yeah, Bali is very nice. I think your experience will be slightly different on a honeymoon. I went there with a backpack and went around all the grotty, cheap hostels. My Bali experience is which hostel is the cheapest on Hostel World and go and stay there.
Oh, brilliant.
Awesome. Brilliant. Well, really appreciate your time, mate. I appreciate you got to go and get stuck into the rest of the summit. How many more days is left? Is it today and tomorrow, or?
Today and tomorrow, and then there's some sessions on Friday as well. But a lot of people will be traveling back on Friday. So yeah, today and tomorrow, the next sort of full days. Yeah.
Yeah. And last thing, have you been to the massive name wall yet and found your name?
I did. I posted it on LinkedIn. So yeah, you can go ahead and check that out as well. So yeah, I did find my name up there.
Yeah.
And had the legendary photo.
I think it was last year someone posted one on LinkedIn, and I was like, how the hell do you find your name? Have they got some sort of app or whatever where they show you?
It's alphabetical.
It was just like, alphabetical, yeah. Which I hadn't even thought of. I was just like, that just makes so much sense. Alphabetical, you just find your name that way. Well, thanks for your time, mate. Enjoy the rest of the summit. I'll catch you soon.